The Scene projects are brought to you by these fine sponsors. J. Rick Music in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Dirty Dog Production, connecting the Black Hills and beyond through music. And DBS Entertainment. We want to thank our sponsors and each one of you, our listeners, for making yourself part of the Scene projects. Well, hello and welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and we are coming to you live from the Loud American Roadhouse here in Sturgis, South Dakota. Joining me today, Genneca Houser. Welcome back to the show.
It's good to be back. Good to see you this afternoon.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We've been sitting here talking for a while already before getting on the microphones about what we have going on, and it's an exciting time for us all. But before we get too far down, why don't you remind our listeners about who Dirty Dog Productions is and what you guys do?
So Dirty Dog Productions is predominantly a resource for local and underground artists. We sometimes put on events featuring underground artists or community events. We like to help, as I said, work as a resource, get people connected, not only just artists with other artists, but businesses to artists and community members to artists so that they might discover new music. It's just kind of a way to connect everyone. Right.
You are a community, and that's exactly what the scene is, and that's why we have grown together, you know, and what we're doing. You've been doing some great blog and vlog posts lately on your website. We've been checking out that content. We're obviously interested in bringing more of that into what we're able to provide.
Oh, yeah.
So actually what we're doing today, this is our first ever video podcast for the scene, kind of brought to you by Dirty Dog Productions and Spectral Siren Art. We got Shay behind the camera with us today too. So how exciting to kind of move into this next phase of what we're doing, right? And exactly what you said is what the mission is, to empower our artists, to help facilitate these relationships and build this community. That's really the mission. Is very, very simple. Grow this awesome arts community that we have in South Dakota and keep moving this thing forward.
Right. Connecting people through music. That's our motto.
I love it. That's exactly what we're all about here. So we have Jessica Luby joining us soon. Jessica's down actually playing at the Harley-Davidson stage down at Rally Point here.
For Music on Main Street.
For Music on Main Street, right? It's kind of their Sturgis City Picnic is how they put it to me. They got free barbecue down there, a lot of great things going on. The town of Sturgis has survived yet another rally. The 84th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally just concluded a week or so ago. Did you guys do anything special for the rally?
I wouldn't necessarily say special. We went out and we saw a couple of different performances. We met up with some friends and we just kind of took it all in, really. Wasn't as busy as next year's rally will probably be.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's exactly what we were doing. Taking it all in, being where we want to be, and what I've said, greasing a lot of wheels for next year. Next year's the big one.
Meeting up with people, checking it all out.
Yep. 85th is next year. Those 5s and 10s are always a big deal. So, yeah, we're looking forward to working with partners. Hopefully, the Loud American is a spot where we get to spend a lot of time next year doing exactly what we're doing now. They have a ton of music going on here. We'd love to talk to all of them. I'm sure you would love to ask them some questions.
Oh, yeah, and they've got great service. They've got really good people working here, really wonderful people running the place. So, and the steak tips.
Right.
Music and steak tips, you can't go wrong there.
No, you sure can't. Well, and this is one of the hubs of live music in the Black Hills, right?
Oh, yeah.
They've featured open mic nights. They have, the day drinking series going on now. I've seen a few of our friends come into that, and their band's playing outside on the big stage. And they're really opening a lot of opportunities for local musicians, and we hope that we both have the opportunity to come in and facilitate more of that.
That would be fun.
Yep.
That's the goal.
So what's next for us, Genneca?
Oh, I think just continuing to build on the overall goal. It's nothing moves as quickly as anyone would want it to. I don't suppose, at least in my experience, nothing moves as quickly as I would want it to. But right now we're kind of in a really wonderful position to have people that we are able to collaborate and work with in order to get things done, which is a really refreshing feeling after going for years without having a whole lot of not much of a support system.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I feel like we've both been kind of operating in our own worlds, which are like so close to bumping into one another. And we were Facebook friends, and we talked about this last episode where we've known of each other for a lot longer, but we just met this year, and that connection has just been so powerful. We've been able to put some things together, share ideas back and forth, and that's just so powerful.
Yeah.
Sharing ideas, communicating.
Yeah. Just like you said, sharing ideas, that's a really big one. To feel like what you have going is not only being heard, but you have a backboard or a sounding board so that other people might be able to get involved.
Definitely. Well, and something that we've talked about today, and that's kind of coalesced from our conversations, was the idea of kind of an artist mixer. We're hoping to set a tentative date before the end of the week, hopefully before the end of the night, but I think that's going to be something that we do a lot more of, and I'd love to get kind of your thoughts on. This has been something that's actually been an idea that you've had for a long time. You just kind of sprung it on me today, and I started to run with it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about just the idea in general of the artist mixer and really the purpose for such an event?
So it's been interesting to me for so many years that in the artist community, there tends to be this strange feeling of competition, which absolutely blows my mind because each person is so very unique individually. And we could all do so much better if we were to work together. And that's not just for collaborations on music, but that's also for sharing resources and getting together to put on events so that we're not waiting for someone else to put together the opportunities for us. So if we were to have a night once a month, once every 3 months even, a couple times a year, just a way for people to get together, and we could invite photographers and videographers, and we could have packages set up for interviews, and we could just all meet with each other and network and cross promote, and then everybody wins.
And capture content that we all get to share on the backside of it too, which is something that we're all struggling to do. It just seems like such a win. I get that stupid smile on my face when these ideas happen, right? Because you're just like, yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we can put in the work.
Right.
Yeah. If we can put in the work to make it something, that's going to be something really valuable to people, and just getting artists together all the time like that. It's the reason why, a town like Nashville or a town like Austin, that they are so popular, because you have that community there. You have these songwriters rounds and songwriters rooms. People are always communicating about ideas and different song ideas and shows, and hey, I'm doing this for merch now, and this has been working for me and not really over here. And I think Nashville's really a much smaller town when you get there. I've never been. I have a few friends that are in and out. I have friends that live there permanently. I think when you get down to it, the artist community that's in Nashville is actually a few thousand people, right? And that's not a lot.
It doesn't sound like all that many, but when they're all in one place, it can feel.
Well, and look what they do
like
every
so
year.
Much.
Right.
Yeah,
and look what this couple
much.
thousand people or whatever that are there, and all this art that they're creating, and they're able to drive that because you have all of the resources in one spot. My goodness, those resources aren't so rare that we can't build that anywhere we go.
Well, and imagine if we were to start collaborating on different styles of artwork, so it's not just music artists that show up. We could have other people. There's an individual in the area who does welding art. If music artists were to say commission him to make some pieces for their music, then you're everyone's supporting everybody, and you have something new and different that others don't have on the table, because everyone's selling t-shirts,
right?
But we've got all kinds of artists of all these different modalities just located all over the place, and we are each other's demographic,
right? Yeah, we are also the fans that are buying the stuff. I mean, I got my Camp Comfort tank top on underneath my nice shirt, right? I'm always wearing band merch.
We are each other's demographics, so we may as well go ahead and make the most of it for everyone involved by getting together and not necessarily collaborating on music, but collaborating on cross-promotion and support so that we can all grow and turn this area into its own hub.
Right. Exactly. And trying to connect the east side of South Dakota with the west side has kind of been a major mission of mine over the last 24 months or so.
That's a tall order.
Because I have a foot in both places now, right? I grew up here in the Black Hills, but I've lived out in Tyndall, which is pretty far outside of the Sioux Falls area, but that's my major metro, right? But I've been able to make a lot of connections in Mitchell, in Yankton. There's a lot of gigs out there. I'm playing all these gigs. Well, none of my friends out here have played any of those places. So we've been slowly trying to trickle them in and get that. And I think what our mission is with the scene is to, whether we accept it or not, we are an authority on music. You and I, people come to us for music related, for our expert advice, for our expert insights, right? I've just kind of accepted that to go, we have the authority to call ourselves the scene, right? Because we are the players, and if we don't do it, then nobody else is going to.
Well, and there's no gatekeeping.
Right.
Whoever wants to be a part of the scene, so to speak, can go ahead and be a part of it.
Right.
Be part of that support network. And
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's something that you dug into right away when I brought the idea to you, was that, it's like a collective. Exactly. The scene is not me. The scene is not Bubba Starts. I have starts and ends. I have plenty of my own stuff going on, right? The scene is all of us. The scene is the excuse for everybody to be involved and to start taking a little piece of ownership of this thing.
Right.
Because it is cool. Yeah, we are building something awesome. Yeah, please
creative
come help us.
minds building amazing things. And honestly, those are the things that I find the most newsworthy.
Yeah.
The stuff that people are doing and creating and imagining.
The news does too. The news does too. There's a reason that Dakota News Now is having me on their program at least once a month, right? There's a reason that they're having guys like Zach Dresch, in the Sioux Falls area. The man's in 8 bands. He's doing comedy every single weekend, right? He's out doing stuff. He is where you should be if you want to be entertained by local arts in general, right? So, yeah, they're paying attention. We're trying to get them deeper into our world, right? I'm talking to these hosts and these people that are facilitating for us and trying to hey, come really be a part of what we're doing. We appreciate the coverage that you're getting, but why don't you come check out what we're doing? Why don't you come host an evening with us, and really see what we're about? And yeah, it's so fun to think about where we're going. This thing isn't even 5 months old, right?
And you're building it very quickly.
Very quickly, right? We got to 50 episodes in 6 weeks. Right. So at that point, and I know most people are like, well, you don't really have a podcast till episode 100. I think getting to 50 in 6 weeks kind of proves the point that content and stuff to talk about and having something that's engaging isn't an issue for us. Right.
Right.
We built a nice little stable for people to go back and to listen to all that stuff and listen to the introductions for a lot of people now that we're going to be doubling back over. All these friends. Obviously, you're a repeat, a repeat visitor at this point, and it's growing this. It's continuing for them to hear your voice. Like I said, it's cool, the content that you and Shay did for Russ. I loved it. But also, we need your face on the camera too, right? we need you out there because you are an authority. Your insights are important. They're important to this scene and to the scene, all of it in general. I think we're doing stuff that's way outside of the box for any market. Right? It's not just out of the box for South Dakota. I don't think anyone anywhere is doing the kind of stuff, and we talk about the promotional things that we do. I don't think there's a lot of people out there doing that. I don't think there's a lot of people out here building a podcast for the sole purpose of growing a community. That's the sole purpose of the podcast. It's not for us to talk about ourselves. It's to connect us with the other people.
Yep. It's for the benefit of anyone that wants to be involved.
Right. Exactly.
And we get to benefit too, because like you said earlier, the content is the driving thing. And what I love sharing most is cool things, neat things that other people are doing. Humans can be really incredible.
Genneca, I was working with a friend today. We're new friends, so I don't know her whole story. And she's sharing, I think we only covered from maybe middle school to her sophomore year of high school. And I was like, you are by far the most interesting person and have lived the most interesting life that I've ever met. Right? And I have to get you, next time we're together, I'm putting a microphone in your face.
Right.
Well, I have to know. The world has to know. You got to share this story. It's incredible.
Right. It should be shared. Well, in this way, we get to write a little bit of history too. I mean, it chronicles a portion of what we're going through at this time, not just the political and economic whatever that's going on every other media station.
Right.
We get to actually take control of a chunk of this part of history and chronicle what we find to be important, which is the creation
archivist
of stuff.
That's what I've started to describe myself as. Is I am here to record this and to capture this moment so that we know what the good times sounded like. Right. Well, we know what these people are, and we're going to have something to go back to. My children are going to have something to go back to, right? And I can't wait to just continue growing this thing. I've been so excited all day getting to do this, because going to video is now an evolution of this program, right? What's next for us, right? Are we already looking at how do we live stream all of our events, right? How are we going from just capture to, no, we're broadcasting live 24/7 from somewhere, right? We've talked internet radio. We've talked, we already have the live events. How do we get the cameras there that can broadcast it directly there and set ourselves up? We're not there yet, but
it's building.
Looking around, it's getting there, right?
Yeah,
You start to kind of look at our setup and the behind the scenes, and watching it all get set up is like, hey, we are doing this. The media world is due for a shakeup, and I think that's our job.
Make just a little bit of noise, just to do something a little bit different, so that maybe we could highlight the people doing something really different, just to be there, just put ourselves on the map in this time.
Right. And the thing that I say is that we're already there anyway, right? We're already where all the action is, hence the 4 Winds, where we met and where we did our first interview.
So this way we can tell others about the action.
Yeah, exactly. And now we get to get it out there and just keep pumping out content. And one thing that is said a lot, on many podcasts and talking about, a rising tide raises all ships. And this is the tide, right? Like, this is the tide that raises all ships, not dissimilar from how Joe Rogan's podcast elevated his entire posse, right? They all rose, and some of them are rising past where even he was and got to, right? So I want to be that for our people. Why not us? Is how we're looking at it, and let this grow to just so many beautiful moments, right? It's not about an end game for us. We're doing this for this. We're doing it for the everyday moments, the everyday conversations that we get to have.
And for the legacy. Yeah. To build something that others might be able to continue on later.
And it already is doing that. I had a kid stop me in my local grocery store. Hey, when's the next episode of The Scene coming out? And I was like, buddy, I'm working on it, right? I wanted to make sure. Well, I wanted to make sure that when we go and turn the spigot back on this time, that we never turn it off, right? The first time was just a test. Hey, does the water work? Okay, the water's on, right? Let's go make sure it's all working before we turn that main water pressure back on, right?
Right.
Let's make sure there's no leaks and really solidify ourselves and learn how to grow this thing. And I think we got some pretty good ideas on how to do that.
I think so. I think it's going to be taken into a really good direction, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And of course, by following you on The Scene or at DBS Entertainment or at Starts and Ends, you got all kinds of places there. And then of course, DirtyDog.com will have some snippets up there, so we'll be able to have lots of places for people to find what's going on.
It's DirtyDog.com.
Yep, DirtyDAHG.com.
There you go. There you go. Well, you guys heard it here on The Scene. I'm Bubba Starch, Genneca Houser joining me. You're going to hear a lot more from her as she moves into more co-hosting duties that she just got informed of. But you're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more of her and of me. And we just thank you guys all so much for listening and watching along.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Join The Scene projects on all your social media channels. And find us on Spotify. 3 episodes releasing weekly, and more content on our Patreon channel. Patreon.com/The Scene Project.